All right, welcome here. I am so happy to have this conversation with you today. I would love to start just by getting a little introduction of what your name is and what you do.
Okay. I'm Deb Benfield, and I am a registered dietitian who has been working in the field of eating disorder treatment and prevention for 40 years now. And when I turned 60, I'm 67 now, I got really curious about what the research was saying about how to make choices to support aging
Yeah.
well, for lack of a better word.
Mm-hmm.
And was very disappointed, sad, angry about how weight centric all the information was, and understanding how so many women would be harmed by that kind of information. So I
Mm-hmm.
shifted a bit, pivoted into focusing more on midlife and older for my
Yeah.
work.
I love that. I mean, it almost sounds like you are trying to create what you wanted to find and then realized
Yes,
it wasn't there.
correct.
Okay.
And it
Okay.
does feel
So,
like there's more of a conversation now. I think there is a lot more of a conversation now. So
mhm.
that's the good news.
Yeah, yeah, there are some glimmers of good news, definitely. And you doing the work is one of those. I mean, you're really pioneering an important conversation. I'm
Thank you.
curious for you. You use the phrase aging body liberation.
Hmm.
And there are other phrases used. People use acceptance, people use positivity, and I'm guessing that you use aging body liberation on purpose. I'm
Yes.
I'm wondering what that means for you and why that word choice feels important.
Yeah. For me, all of my work feels very oriented toward liberation, toward freedom from, all of the dictates that we live in, the body hierarchy that we live in around
Hmm.
how our bodies are supposed to be, and all of the ways
Yeah.
that nutrition lines up with that sometimes, with diet culture and all the food rules and all of the
Yes.
many rules around what happens in midlife and older, all the heavy lifting, all the dictate around the
Yeah.
shoulds that feel like we're inundated by these constant, ever increasingly, more aggressive
Yeah.
rules about caring for our bodies. And I I think I am a little rebellious myself. I'm very attracted to like the idea of being free and
Hmm.
being a strong feminist. Of course, there's also a feeling of wanting to break free from all of the stigmas and the many
Yeah.
different isms around how we're supposed to be as women in the world, which
Yeah.
feels like midlife is like the target. It kind of just all coalesces.
All the pressures
All the pressures,
kind of come at
absolutely.
midlife.
All the oppressive messages
Uh-huh.
about our bodies. So
So
liberation is just very attractive to me.
yeah, and it sounds like the idea with liberation really is this like get the chains off of me. Stop trying to put
Yes,
these messages on me, all these shoulds on me. Just let me
yes,
figure out what it means to live this
yes,
time.
yes.
Yeah.
Extricating ourselves from all of those that are inside of us and outside of us, right?
Yeah.
We've internalized so much of that too. So
Yeah. Yeah.
having the capacity to extricate yourself from your internal storyline
Hmm.
along with the external pressures.
And that's such a great point is that maybe the messages start from out here. Certainly they probably do, but we breathe that in. We can't really help but soak it in. And so there's
Right.
these kind of dual ideas, I think, about midlife and beyond, which is that this could be this time for growth and perspective and other priorities and doing what you want in your life. But
Yeah.
to your point, a lot of women are finding themselves more obsessed with what their bodies look like than ever.
Hmm.
What would you say is kind of happening there?
Well, I think it is just true biologically that our bodies are shifting and changing. You know, perimenopause on,
Yeah.
there are very real changes in our lives in this time of our lives. Most women are experiencing potential changes in the roles they live with.
Hmm.
Kids leave if you've had children.
Right.
Relationships are highly likely to change in this
Yeah.
time. Your identity professionally,
Yeah.
perhaps all of your endeavors around fitness,
Uh-huh.
you may not have the capacity that you once had, or you may be shifting what you're interested in. I just feel like there's an
Yeah.
awful lot that's changing
Right.
in our lives, in our bodies, in
Hmm.
our like potential losses. Like
Yeah.
there's so much shifting and changing. There's
Hmm.
such a transition that's very real. I mean, when I was a kid, they called it the change, right? So
Yeah. Yeah.
that's understandable that there is discomfort and vulnerability with all
Hmm.
those changes. And as a person who works with eating disorders, I know that the feeling that you can be on top of something, to be like
Hmm.
the idea of doing something right, seeing
Right.
results, being
Uh-huh.
in control of something,
Right.
sends you toward like wanting to white knuckle around your behaviors that could shift your body and
Right.
potentially create a body that's more in line with what the culture is continuing to value, as you feel
Yeah.
like you potentially are losing value.
I can really see some of that. I would say for me, control is such an important element, both of the work that I do, but I also really relate to that. The more that we feel things happening to us that we don't feel as much or any agency over, it makes a lot of sense that we would shift to what can I control? And that for someone who may have
Mm-hmm.
a predisposition towards an eating disorder, that could be a really challenging time
Yeah,
because so much is
absolutely.
changing.
Absolutely.
And there is so much to grieve. And I'm curious, so there's that internal part, but then we've got diet culture on top of it,
Mm-hmm.
and that has its
Yes.
own specific messaging.
Mm-hmm.
I could imagine
Mm-hmm.
having some of that internal pressure and approaching it maybe with some support, probably, but with some curiosity, like, okay, what do I want this time of my life to be about? But a lot of women don't get the opportunity to be curious because they're kind of told, well, here's how you should feel about these changes. What do you see happening with diet culture for specifically targeting women at this age?
Yeah. Well, I'm more than a little concerned about the menopause space and
Okay.
the big conversations that are coming out of some of the menopause influencers that
Okay.
relate to, I don't know if you want to talk about GLP-1s, but using GLP-1s to actually treat the process of our body's changes just feels
Hmm.
terribly wrong to me. And
Yeah.
I'm very open to GLP-1s actually. I work with quite a few clients on GLP-1s. I feel like there
Yeah.
is a role, but
Yeah.
specifically targeting the changes in our bodies during menopause
Hmm.
as a problem to fix and
Uh-huh.
as something to medicate is
Yeah.
really bothering me. Not to mention all of the you must eat very high levels of protein and avoid carbohydrates and fiber max.
Right.
I mean, it just keeps growing.
Right.
The numbers
Right.
of things we should be tracking and
Yeah.
counting and manipulating.
Well, and I can
It's
imagine,
intense.
yeah. Yeah. And I'm really thinking about this balance. Like, of course there's a space for medications and we want
Hmm.
medications that are helpful,
Yes, 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 yes.
but the message isn't just, it really isn't, do what's going to be the healthiest for your body, because we don't actually have any data on that yet,
No,
specifically
we do
for
not.
women in midlife and beyond either.
No, we do not.
But what we do
Mm-mm.
have really good data on is women typically put on more weight at perimenopause, menopause, and that's really helpful. That tends to that tends to result in longer life expectancy.
Yes.
So if
Thank you.
this is what the body is naturally doing, and we're doing something to
Mm-hmm.
go against that, we don't have
Mm-hmm.
any data yet to say it's bad, but we've got some
Mm-mm.
data to suggest we want to be really careful with that at a
Yes.
time when our bones are leaching calcium and we're at higher
Yes.
risk for falls. It I
Yes.
it's interesting because it's not anti-medication. It's saying we do have to go with the research though. And that
Mm-hmm.
I can imagine that being scary.
Yes. And medicalizing a process that is happening in our bodies
Mm-hmm.
that I feel that this is a very complicated conversation because I in no way am saying that it's not a good idea to take HRT. That's not what I'm saying.
Right.
I am saying, like, I think we've really medicalized something that could be an opportunity. And I see midlife as an opportunity. And I think getting
Mm-hmm.
distracted and potentially obsessed with controlling our bodies robs us for an opportunity to like get to know ourselves. And
Wow.
this is a time that we really recognize, like, maybe it's time to reevaluate. Maybe it's time to
Uh-huh.
reflect on what my true values are for this
Mm-hmm.
part of my life. I mean, you
Mm-hmm.
become very clear that time, energy, attention is limited. So,
Yeah.
how do you want to spend this? And do you want to spend it on controlling your body? I mean, maybe
Yeah.
so. That's a legit
Right.
choice. But I think we need to get clear
Yeah, yeah.
about
It
that.
it it almost sounds to me like part of what you're saying is we just want to broaden the conversation. You know, the
Yes.
the cultural conversation for women at midlife is your body
Mm-hmm.
is changing, better try to fix it. And you're
Yeah.
saying there's nothing wrong with trying to do the best you can in the body you have as it changes, of course, and that's going to look different
Mm-hmm.
for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
And this is also an opportunity to think about what do you love? What do you care about? What do you want to
Yeah.
nurture in yourself
Yeah.
when there are limitations on time and energy and all of that? Is that kind of where
Yeah,
you're at with that?
absolutely. Expanding so many things. I mean, part of what I talk about is expanding our ideas about beauty. I mean, it's so, so,
Hmm.
so, 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 so narrow what we consider to be, beautiful. And I think if you play around with looking in nature and looking at how things happen over time. I mean, time as an artist is one of my favorite things to say. I mean,
Uh-huh.
things shift and change. And what if we question our idea about what beauty is? I mean,
Hmm.
along with our bodies.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
what do we value? It's an opportunity to get expansive,
Yeah. I think
for
that's
sure.
just absolutely lovely. I'm curious what you do say then to a woman in her 50s, a woman in approaching midlife who has spent decades trying to lose weight, trying to optimize what her body looks like. And now there's a new flood of messaging that says, now you need to fight aging. Now you need to fight what your body's looking like in this kind of way. What would you say to a woman who's just exhausted by
Yeah. Yeah. This was the familiar conversation.
it? I bet.
I think it's like I just mentioned. I think it's an opportunity for inventory, right? It's a chance for you to get to know yourself, and like you become very aware of the fact that you have limited time, right? That
Mm,
it's not that you can count on, having another potentially 50 years. Maybe you do, but like, how do you want to we can't completely control how this is going to go, but
yeah.
imagine what you want that to look
Mhm.
like. And do you have the energy to spend? Do you want to keep spending energy on making your
Hmm.
body look a certain way?
Yeah.
I think it's
Yeah.
an opportunity to get curious about your own values, because I
Hmm.
don't want to impose anything. I want people
Right.
to have an opportunity to notice like what is true for them. And many,
Hmm.
many women, we get into like, what was it like for you before you
Hmm.
thought of your body as your worth and your value? Like, do you
Yeah.
remember a time when you were, in your girlhood? What did you love? What made you feel excited,
Hmm.
fascinated, alive? Many women play around with that and get around to like, oh yeah, I was way into this and this and this and this. And
Uh-huh.
that's one of the beautiful things that starts to unfold. Is like,
Hmm.
oh, I really want to get back into photography. I kind of dropped that along the way. I need to
Hmm.
get back to my camera or my canvas or my writing or my
Yeah.
business or
Right.
it's
Right.
so I'm not saying abandoning the body. Obviously, I'm a
Hmm.
dietitian, a yoga teacher. I really believe in supporting ourselves so that we feel well and have
Yeah.
energy and feel strong and have, good rest, all of that. But I
Yeah.
also want us to not get exhausted and obsessive around
Right.
controlling this one thing, keeping ourselves
Yeah.
very
Yeah.
narrowly focused.
Right. It really sounds like you're saying, this is an opportunity to have the whole pie, and we don't want to narrow it to just one thing that's
Right,
important. We want to
right.
have as many slices as we want to have, what's valuable to
Mm,
you, and
yes.
let that come from inside, not because
Hmm.
someone said this is the thing that's supposed to be valuable for you and this is what you're going to have to.
Yeah. And I think that's a really important point because it is a chance to notice how you have really been sold and told a particular set of
Uh-huh.
values.
Yeah.
And like really allowing yourself to go, is this true? Where did I learn this? I mean,
Hmm.
when I'm working with clients around their internal dialogue, that's one of the prompts is like, so who said, right? Like, where is
Uh-huh.
this coming from? Is
Right.
this even true? Right.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah.
One of the things that I think is interesting is that you said, I'm not going to quote you exactly, but something like about the currency, like the value that women kind of trade for respect and space is appearance. And aging in a culture that treats age like it's lower value directly threatens your currency, your ability to trade for respect and taking up space in the world. So there's this interesting dynamic of I want to decide what goes in my pie chart of importance and how many slices there are.
Hmm.
And we still live in a culture that says your currency is looking perpetually 25 and skinny and white and this very narrow
Hmm.
standard.
Hmm.
And so it feels like there's this contradictory experience with trying to redefine our own worth in that moment.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Thank goodness. A lot of us we just don't give fucks anymore, right? That's one of the things that happens. It doesn't happen to
Yeah.
everybody though. I mean,
Hmm.
I'm fascinated by like why some women experience that and why some women struggle with that.
Right.
Because there is something about relevance, obviously, and how, it's part of identity. I think for some women it's
Hmm.
not as part of your identity to turn
Hmm.
heads when you walk into a room
Uh-huh.
versus like some women really feel intense loss when they no
Yes.
longer have that level of
Hmm.
relevance and visibility. Some of us
Hmm.
feel free. It's like and
Yeah.
grateful when the male gaze or whatever kind of gaze is like no
Hmm.
longer part of what we have to deal with. So it's a
Yeah.
pretty fascinating reality. I talk a lot
Yeah.
about how important it is to understand the body hierarchy, which is what I think you were talking about a few
Mm-hmm.
minutes ago, and really, really getting that when you become more other, when you're less like the default body as you
Uh-huh.
age, and you potentially are in a larger body, it makes you, without conscious awareness, feel like, well, if I can be fit and thin, I can stay more relevant. I can hold on to social collateral longer
Mm-hmm.
as I age if I at least remain thin and fit.
Mm. It's a lot
I
of
think it's
pressure.
very seductive.
Yeah. Yeah, it
And
is.
without, I don't think we even realize what we're doing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it feels a little bit like it connects a bit to what we were talking about with regard to control, and also a bit to how different women may grieve their changes differently. And it may not even
Sure.
be grief for some women. How you said
Yeah.
it's heart wrenching for some women to
Mm-hmm.
lose the gaze of people because it can
Mm-hmm.
feel awful. But for
Yes.
other women, it's that is liberatory to,
Yes,
to have that be
exactly.
different.
Yeah. And we're
Yeah.
all, the older we get, the more unique we are because we've had more experiences internally and externally. So we're more unique. So honoring that there can be different ways to experience grief around different aspects of loss.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the things that I have found, and I'm curious if you found this in your practice too, um, is that helping people to redefine value in themselves and the person that they are evolving to be, whatever that looks like, whatever that feels like, whatever those abilities might be, is finding other people who are embodying already a version of that in a way that's interesting or in a way that's curious. Maybe
Yes.
it's something you want, maybe it's something that you don't want, but just in a way that's curious. So I often encourage people, go out and find accounts of people who are at least your weight, ideally heavier. Go out and find accounts who are at least your age, ideally older than you. I often
Yes.
encourage people, go find role models, that will
Mm-hmm.
help
Mm-hmm.
you feel a little bit of a sense of maybe there doesn't have to be so much fear here. And I'm curious
Yeah.
if you do
Yeah.
that work, if you find that to be helpful for
Yeah.
women at midlife and beyond.
Absolutely. And I think, well, there's a lot of conversation in the anti ageism
Mm-hmm.
world around the importance of intergenerational friendships. I
Uh-huh.
think it's really important in your real life to have people that are younger and older so that you can
Mm.
all kind of experience how that is for younger
Uh-huh.
and older and to
Yeah.
really work on your own internalized ageism through doing that. I think it's
Mm.
incredibly healthy. But I
Yeah.
will say, when it comes to accounts, social media accounts, I think it's very, very new that there have been accounts for women who are midlife and older who
Mm.
also have diverse bodies. Because for a
Yes.
long time, the
Yes.
pro aging conversation was intensely thin because of what I just said a few
Mm-hmm.
minutes ago. There was a
Yes.
lot of shame if you
Mm-hmm.
were like in an older and larger body, like the
Yes.
body liberation the community, I'm sorry, the
Uh-huh.
body positivity community was very young. So there
Yes.
wasn't a lot of body diversity in the pro aging. There was
Mm-hmm.
no crossover there. But that is
Yeah.
changing now, finally.
Mm.
So
Finally.
there are accounts with different sizes and different ages, but that is very, very new.
Mm-hmm. And it feels so essential to me. I think
Yes.
in conversations around lots of different types of diversity or groups of people who felt othered, who have been othered, seeing yourself in a role that's if even just not negative, but in a role that's positive, living a good life, you have to see it to believe it
Mm-hmm.
oftentimes. And so
Yes.
it sounds a little bit like you are part of that. You went out looking for what you wanted. You didn't find it. And so now you've kind of become what you wanted. And it sounds like there are now older women or midlife
Mm-hmm.
women in larger bodies saying, I get to take up space too, and actually doing it, which I
Yes.
imagine will then spread because you see that and you go, oh,
Yes.
yeah, she's doing it. That's
Yes.
amazing. Why I can do that.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is a brand new phenomenon. It's incredibly exciting. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It is exciting.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
Yes.
curious, we've been kind of talking about general sort of big things on a daily basis. If I'm thinking
Mm-hmm.
about someone coming into a new stage of body, maybe they're in perimenopause, menopause, just this awareness that, the under fear that we can all kind of have all the time of things are changing. This is scary. This is new ground. What would you say it just looks like on a regular day to be with the fact that that's happening and how to
Yeah.
do that or how to be with that in a way or how to approach it, maybe in a way that can feel aligned with the liberatory energy that we want?
Mm-hmm. I love this question because when I was 20 something or 30 something, this was not a conversation. Wrinkles, what? I mean, just
Right.
the that was never something that entered my mind to be worried about getting wrinkles. Whereas now it's an oppressive conversation. I was in
Mhm.
another podcast interview, and the woman that was interviewing me told me that her daughter, who was in the sixth grade,
Mm. Well, I'm nervous
was
about where this is
that.
going.
Well, she asked her about wrinkles because now skincare is a playful YouTube experience for very young girls, and
Hmm.
they're hearing these words. And
Hmm.
so I almost feel like it's an on ramp to like disorder, to
Yes,
body dysmorphia. I
absolutely.
mean, obviously, I'm a worrywart around this because I sit with people who live with a lot of pain and struggle around this.
Hmm.
But I feel like younger people are exposed to much more fear mongering
Yeah.
around aging.
Hmm.
So I think it's a very important conversation to have, like, when you start to notice changes in your body,
Hmm.
can we make it something that's not so scary?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think more of us my age and around like midlife and older need to be talking about how this is not scary. This doesn't have to
Uh-huh.
be scary. I
Right.
feel great. I'm doing like things that I enjoy in my life. At
Hmm.
67, fully engaged in my life. Now, I'm
Hmm. Of
very fortunate. Not everybody can say that. I lost my best friend to
course.
breast cancer in her 50s. So I know things happen, but things
Hmm.
happen no matter how old you are.
Hmm.
Age doesn't have to necessarily be a time of decline and
Hmm.
fragility.
Hmm.
So I think we need to elevate the conversation around how actually being afraid of aging is the problem, not aging.
Yes. Yeah.
It's the story about our
Hmm.
bodies changing, not our actual bodies changing. It's all of the fear mongering that is
Yeah.
selling. It's capitalism at its worst. It's like, yeah, I think it's the convergence of like capitalism and ageism and diet culture
Hmm.
all together
Yeah. All
that
coming.
is creating this scary reaction to bodies
Hmm.
changing.
Hmm.
So I would love to elevate, like, it just is part of life, almost like death. Like, death is part of life. We need to be
Uh-huh.
talking about it. Grief is part of life. We need to
Uh-huh.
allow it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not so much like what we have to brace for and like buy a million products to push
Mm-hmm.
against.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. It's natural.
It's natural, and I think there's a celebration to be had. I mean,
Uh-huh.
there's an awful lot of beauty that happens. There's potential freedom. I mean, there's a happiness curve where actually midlife is the hardest. I know you probably know that.
I
But
do,
when
but
you're
I'd
the
love to hear it again.
youngest and the oldest is when you're the happiest. So, I mean, we're moving toward potential good times.
Yes. That's such a beautiful thing to hear. And as a
Mm-hmm.
psychologist, I'm predisposed to love this, but I love what you said around it's the emotions maybe where we can do the work. The emotion of anxiety around our bodies often makes us want to fix our bodies,
Right.
but there's no end to that emotion. There is no fixing your body enough that's going to make anxiety go away in a
Hmm.
culture that continually feeds us anxieties because that's how it makes money.
I mean,
And
it just
so,
keeps coming.
yeah,
It
so I
just
can
keeps
stay
coming.
on the hamster wheel or I
Mm-hmm.
can figure out how I'm going to sit with that anxiety.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
And that might get me off the hamster wheel. It opens up
Yes.
something different. I'm
Yeah.
not trying to maybe fix every wrinkle as it pops up and every little thing that changes,
Yeah.
but I'm going to sit with those feelings. I'm going to treat myself in the way that I need to be cared for to deal with that.
Yes.
Yeah, I love that.
100%.
You said something earlier too, and I think this has kind of been true in everything we've been talking about. That two things can happen at the same time. That there can be grief, and it's so real, and it's so true, and it can
Mm-hmm.
make you just want to middle fingers up to everything, and I hate everybody and everyone and everything all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And you can have that experience, and also, well, here's this new joy, here's this new freedom if I'm going to focus on different things in my life, that does open up some opportunities. And we can just have both things on the plate at the same
Yep.
time.
I think that's the smartest way to approach this, right? To acknowledge, the potential for many things to be happening in this
Mhm.
particular time of life. I think this midlife and older time is complex for lots of
Yeah.
reasons. All the stories that we've inherited, the cultural oppressive stories that are coming at us nonstop, and the things that are actually happening in our lives are like, we have to decide, is this an opportunity or is it something I should be sad about?
Uh huh.
Is it both? That
Yeah.
takes a lot of energy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It feels to me like it is, and this is also maybe a psychologist related comment, but it feels to me like because it is complicated, because it does take a lot of energy, because it is so emotionally charged. This is also a time of life where support is so needed, and not
Yes.
just any support, not the support that comes from, well, change this thing and then you'll feel better, but the support that comes from really listening, being open in conversations, having friendships that allow there to be nuance where you can grieve and laugh, or professional relationships where you can talk about it. It doesn't have to be this awful thing that we fight, that we pretend isn't happening. It can
Right.
just be like, this is what's going on right now.
Yeah. All the things.
Yeah. And that's not
Hmm.
an end point necessarily.
Yeah, to me, it's like a messiness that will just change flavors. It's just, there's a messiness that continues on. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And, I think a lot of us don't love the idea of having messy lives. But the reality is just kind of how you were saying, there's some things that are just part of life. If I'm not willing to tolerate a little bit of mess in my life, I'm going to have to exert a tremendous amount of control. to try to get things to be perfect. And that is a losing battle with
Yeah.
age. And so we don't have options that aren't going to take all of us. It's just, how do you want to use that energy?
Yeah. To me, it really, again, comes down to your values. I mean, I want to be
Mhm.
present. I want to feel what is happening because that's important to me. So I don't want to feel like I have to be in control. That doesn't interest
Yeah.
me
Mhm.
because I think that is going to distract me. It's going to not allow me to feel present. So
Uh-huh.
that's where I go in my life.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
some people find that to be helpful.
Yeah, I can
Yeah.
imagine so. I think it's helpful. Yeah. So, when you think about your own journey or maybe some of the people that you've worked with, when there's that moment where there's kind of that switch, and these moments probably happen multiple times, but there's just this moment where there's a switch in focus that goes, okay, screw it. I'm gonna I'm, I'm gonna think about something else. I'm gonna focus my energy on something else. I'm gonna just let, for right this moment, this aging just happen. And I'm gonna focus on something else. What do you see open for people when that occurs?
Well, I can tell you what my clients say. Well, I can
Uh-huh.
tell you my story, and I mean, to write a book at
Mhm.
this time in my life is mind-blowing to me.
Yes.
To to step into a completely different chapter and trajectory
Hmm.
in my personal and private, all of it, life
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
very exciting, and I have enjoyed every bit of it. I mean, there have been times that I've been tired, no question, but
Uh-huh.
also really enlivened and feel very vital with this
Uh-huh.
opportunity. And I think it is
Yeah.
because I've decided to stay engaged in my
Hmm.
life and not
Hmm.
believe the stories and not allowing the
Hmm.
stories about aging to define me,
Yeah.
right? And then for my clients, I hear stories like I talked about a few minutes ago around my photography has never been more vibrant. I can see that things have
Hmm.
changed in my creativity.
Yeah.
I feel like you have more access to the stream of your own vitality, your own juiciness
Yeah.
that may have been shut off when you were
Mhm.
disconnected from your body and trying to control your body. I mean, that's my belief system is
Yeah.
that having access to your body, to be in a relationship with your body
Uh-huh.
that is like compassionate and curious and listening
Uh-huh.
opens up who you really are.
Yeah. And you describe it as a belief system, and that feels right. And at the same time, there's just an element to me thinking about just the neuropsychology of how we work that is, no, really, we have only so much attention. And if I'm
Yes,
putting it
true.
towards dieting and shrinking my body and whatever that is, it is necessarily pulled from
Yes,
creativity or other things, and that's just the opportunity cost we live with. And so
yes.
who knows what's on the other side when that energy
Hmm.
gets returned.
Yes.
There's almost
I,
certainly something there.
yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. I feel like noticing what you're attending to and how that becomes your life,
Yes.
that matters
Yeah.
to me. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. it's it's really an interesting question. If you weren't spending all of this time, all of this energy, investing all of these resources into shrinking your body,
Mhm.
what would you do? What would be there? And that's a
Yeah.
little scary, but it is
Right, for sure.
exhilarating, like you were saying with your book. And before we move too far forward, just because there's going to be anybody who's watching this and be like, "What is the book?" Can you tell
Okay.
us what your book is called and where people might
Yes.
be able to find it?
Yeah. I wrote a book called Unapologetic Aging: How to Mend and Nourish Your Relationship with Your Body. Yeah. Which came out last December. Yep.
So that'd be December 2025. Just
Exactly.
okay. That's
Yep.
beautiful. Thank you.
And it's a
So I
mix
want.
of kind of workbook and somatic invitation along with
Mm,
content. Yeah.
oh my gosh, it sounds amazing. I haven't read it yet, but now I'm very excited. I love an experiential thing. Again, a psychologist comment, but like make me
Mm-hmm.
feel it. Let's do it.
Mm-hmm.
And it
Yes.
sounds
I
like that's what
asked the
that's
reader to stop and check in quite a
about.
bit. I had to fight for that with my with my
Mhm.
editor, and I hope people like it.
Yeah. Yeah. It sounds to me like a fight worth having because that's where the change happens, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Just like we were talking about, if I keep emotions out here, I've got to
Mm-hmm.
spend a lot of resources doing that. If I
Yeah.
can feel it, I can work through it. And then there's another side to that.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how we get access to
That's
everything
a
else.
beautiful way to say it. Yeah.
Okay. So I want to switch to asking you a little bit more about your role as a dietitian because
Mm-hmm.
nutritional care probably does change at midlife.
Mm-hmm. It does.
Separate from weight management at midlife, what would you
Mm-hmm.
say is important for people to know
Yeah.
about just genuine nutritional care?
Mm-hmm.
What does feel research indicated to you?
Yeah, it's very true. And again, we're all very different,
Hmm.
but we do have a decrease in our metabolism,
Hmm.
and that the research is saying happens around 60. And people have a reaction to that. People think it's a lot younger than that. But all of that depends so much on your activity, your sleep,
Yes.
your composition, your
Uh-huh.
medications, your previous dieting.
Yeah, right. We all
So
come into
many.
midlife with our own stuff.
Yeah. So it's all different for different people.
Hmm.
But you may notice if you have connection to your appetite, you may notice that you are not as hungry as you once were.
Hmm.
And it is definitely true that we need more protein. That is
Hmm.
true.
Uh-huh.
Our gut does not function at quite the same level. So there may be changes in digestion. So that
Okay.
again depends on the person.
Right.
And
Hmm.
you may need to track things like B12, which is due to the changes in your gut. So there are labs that you need to pay attention to, which
Hmm.
your physician is probably already tracking with. But
Yeah.
just for you to be aware, yeah,
Uh-huh.
track your B12. Yes, you do need more protein, but not at
Mhm.
the level that you may be hearing. I'm not a fan of tracking numbers. I think that is very risky. I
Hmm.
think just in general, trying to have significant protein when you eat, it doesn't have to be rigidly, perfectly
Hmm.
every single time, but to try
Yeah.
to check in and make sure you have protein mostly
Hmm.
when you eat.
Hmm.
And it is because of the digestion, you do need more fiber. So there are truths, but because of the
Hmm.
nature of wellness culture and
Yes.
media, they've all been kind of exaggerated, and
Yeah.
there's
And
fear
flipped
monger
to
around
weight.
it. Yeah,
Hmm.
and then brings us back to like there's a right and a wrong way to have a body.
Yeah.
Yes.
One of the things that I noticed in myself as you were talking is that it's so nice to hear someone say, yeah, there are some things you can do to
Mm-hmm.
be like to get the healthiest out of your body, to give it the nourishment it needs, to take care of it, to be tuned into it. Here are some of the things to look at. And I find that so comforting because eating more intuitively or having a liberatory relationship with your body doesn't mean we don't take care of it or we ignore
Exactly.
that it's going to need different stuff at different times.
Right. Right.
It is absolutely taking care of it and nourishing it,
Mm-hmm.
not to change what it looks like, to give it the best that
Right.
it can, to give your body the
Yeah.
love and care that you would give anybody that you love and care for.
Yes. Yeah. To attend to and to
Hmm.
care for does not mean control. Yeah. That's
Wow. I
to, to,
love
to me,
that.
it's much more about tending and caring instead of
Mhm.
controlling.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so good. It feels so much better to think about I can take care of myself at midlife, and that
Yeah.
doesn't have to look like controlling everything about my body, but
Right.
I can be thoughtful. I can be intentional.
Yeah.
So
Another
I
reason
want,
why I wrote my book was to get
yes.
into that free of, like, really free of diet and wellness culture,
Uh-huh.
hyperbole. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, because the wellness diet culture, general culture around women's bodies changes is often exploitative. It's a do
Yes.
these things, buy this thing to
Yeah,
make it
for
different,
sure.
to make it not happen,
Yes.
whatever.
And longevity
Yeah.
medicine is
Hmm.
also part of this. Yeah.
Hmm.
It's fascinating to me that longevity, for some reason, is more of a bro conversation. I don't know. It's
When you said
wild.
that, I immediately went to like San Francisco Tech
Yes.
Pro. Like I just
Yes.
in
Like,
my mind, I just,
I don't
yeah.
understand quite how that got gendered,
Mhm.
but yeah.
Yeah, it does feel like that. And some of
Mm-hmm.
the very practical things you're talking about that women can do. And I also think women tend to live longer. So it's just interesting that that's not as, the things that our bodies do may be protective. The things that we're
You
doing
think? I mean,
naturally.
just
Right.
trusting the natural design instead of fighting against it. I know.
Right.
Yeah. And
Right.
I will also say I have more men in my caseload than I ever have. I mean,
Uh-huh.
men struggle with body changes when they age just as, I mean, maybe not just as much, but they also,
And in
yeah,
different ways too. They
in
just
different ways.
have, I
Exactly.
think, increasingly rigid expectations on them as well. Kind
Hmm.
of what it
Yes.
means to be masculine is
Hmm.
also rigid and so challenged by aging.
Yes. One of the words that I love about midlife bodies is, and
Mhm.
personally, the word that I embrace the most is softening.
Uh,
And people have a very hard time embracing a softer body. But that
yeah,
is what happens as we get softer. And I really love that
right.
because it
Because
means so
soft,
many, to me, it means good things.
yeah, and soft and so in pretty much every other context is luscious and lovely. And it's what we want. It's what is comforting. If I
Yeah.
think about at the end of a long day or a long life, I don't want to be on something hard. I want to have something soft. If I think of something that's welcoming, it's
Oh,
soft.
I
Welcoming things are
agree.
not typically hard, rigid.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So when you think about a culture that could actually value aging, not just tolerate aging, but value it. What do you think would be some of the fundamental shifts, the fundamental things that would be different?
And I can't hear that question without just really challenging ageism. Because to
Mm,
me, we're all equal. I mean, in my value system, we're all equal. I really feel like valuing people who have been here for a longer amount of time, which is what I say to my grandchildren when I'm trying to help them not be ageist, which is next to impossible,
mm,
but to just look at older is neutral. It's a neutral descriptor. It doesn't mean
mhm,
bad. It means you've been here longer. And there
mhm.
are benefits and potential, like when you look at an old chair, I mean, it
Uh-huh.
may need repair, right? There may be some things about it not working as well, or it may have this beautiful patina and positive
Uh-huh.
memories, and
Yes.
so there are lots of different ways to think about old.
Right.
I
Mm-hmm.
have claimed old. I say I'm old every chance I get because I feel strongly that we need to neutralize
Mm-hmm.
that word and not make it so
Mm-hmm.
negative.
Yeah.
So I just feel like we need to dismantle our ageism
Mm-hmm.
to value people,
Mm-hmm.
because ageism also means we discount people who are younger, thinking that they don't
Right.
have something too.
Mm-hmm.
So trying to challenge our beliefs around aging and ableism, that's a whole nother conversation. But it is
Yeah.
part of this conversation too.
Yeah. Well, and it feels like it's an important part, if I think about the chair imagery that you're using, it again goes back to two things can be true at the same time.
Yes.
You might
Yes.
have to make some repairs for a chair that's getting a lot of use over the years. That
Mm-hmm.
is so reasonable. And it can be beautiful. It can carry craftsmanship and history and emotional ties that
Yeah.
buying a new chair isn't going to have for you. The new chair might work great and I never want to sit in it because it doesn't mean anything,
Right.
to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
But a new chair might bring something interesting too. They're just different. They're
Mm-hmm.
just different
Mm-hmm.
chairs.
Yes.
So it feels a little bit like it's again that theme of these things can both be true.
Mm-hmm. And to bring the judgment and the criticism and the fear down and make it just what is that. I think the two themes I'm hearing in our conversation is like holding two beliefs, two things that can be true at one time, and can we make things more neutral and less pejorative, less
Mm-hmm.
judgy?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Create something where there's
Mm-hmm.
just more space. There's just less
Yes.
pressure
Yes.
and more space to
Yes.
just
I
be.
mean, 100%. Because we are very, very caught in a very narrow ideal of the
Mm-hmm.
only way to be a good older person or to age well is to be a super ager, is
Uh-huh.
to continue to
Yeah.
do so many pull-ups or planks or like climb
Right.
mountains or swim oceans.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Yeah.
in thinking about that, for you, when you think about this integration, why would you, what feels essential to you to bring together into this conversation? This could just be a conversation about aging, but it's also about diet culture. It's also about intuitive eating. It's also about body image and body liberation and food. And for you, why does it feel like these need to be part of the same conversation, not all?
Because in my experience, in my own life and with clients,
Mm-hmm.
the kind of pressure that we experience in midlife and older is so intense around our bodies that I feel like we need to offer an alternative narrative. We need to
Mm-hmm.
offer support around it. We need to expand it because it is oppressive what women and people are experiencing in midlife. There's so much marketing. When I wrote my book, I had the numbers, but now I'm sure those numbers have changed. And I
Yeah.
certainly don't still have those numbers about how much money is directed at a midlife woman. How
Mm,
many marketing dollars are on your back? You are the
yeah.
target. You are the target for so many products and programs.
Well,
That that's why I want to that's why I pull it all together, because I feel like there needs to be support and messaging to offset all of that pressure.
another good reason to get the book, just to let that sink in, to really feel into that and understand it so that we can probably get pissed off and want to do something else, kind of get
Mm-hmm.
galvanized to do something else. That anger, I think, that can come with
Yeah.
hearing those kinds of statistics is important because anger is activating. It lets
Yes, it
us
is.
decide,
Absolutely.
I'm not going to buy into this, you know?
Yeah, I'm opting
Mhm.
out. Peace
Yeah,
out.
exactly. Exactly.
Yep.
So I have a couple questions for you that I didn't tell you about in advance that I was just
Okay.
thinking about when I thought about having this conversation with you, and I was just curious what you would say.
Okay.
Is there anything that you do now that your younger self would be surprised by? That they would be surprised, maybe even a little bit horrified by, but just surprised that, oh, this is how we are?
I
Anything
mean,
like
I
that?
am not kidding when I say I think one of the magical opportunities of midlife is to circle back to
Uh-huh.
who you were and you're becoming. To me, aging well means becoming who you really are. So probably
Mm.
not, probably no surprise.
Huh. Huh. I wonder.
I think I'm exactly who I was meant to be when I was 10 and
Wow.
just wanted to ride my bike and be outside and write poetry in an apple tree.
Oh, that's beautiful. So 10-year-old you would say, of course we wrote a book.
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Right.
Obviously.
There are many family stories about how constant a book was in my life. Yes.
Would
Yes.
30-year-old you have thought you would write a book?
I think 30-year-old me was lost.
Uh-huh.
I
Yeah.
think I think being a mom, and I was a single mom, so very I didn't have a connection with what I really wanted. I think
Mm-hmm.
many women experience that loss of connection to
Yeah.
what your wants and needs are. Truly
Mm-hmm.
happened to me. And
Yeah.
that's why I'm so committed to being true to the girlhood part that
Yeah.
has some
Yeah. And
ideas.
it's such an interesting thing to think about because it sounds like you got through that time of your life, your 30s or whatever that was, in the way that you needed to for the values that were important at that time in your life, which sounds like it was raising kids on your own. You did what
Yep.
you needed to do. But there
Mm-hmm.
was an opportunity cost, and
Correct.
it was you. It was parts of
Yeah.
you. Anyway, you
Yes.
had to put some parts down to
Yes.
pick up other ones, and they had to be important. And to some degree, that's now happening in midlife, where you're
Mm-hmm.
saying, these ones now get to rest. Oh, and
Yes.
I get to pick these up again.
Yeah.
I had to
That's
put them
how it
down, and I'm so
feels.
happy
Yeah.
to rediscover that.
Yes, that's how it feels.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Which
that's,
I think that's the opportunity that midlife brings.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And would you say that that's one of the best things about being the age that you are, that nobody really talks about that much?
I think that and not caring as much about what people think of you. The
Uh-huh.
freedom that comes with that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And again, that doesn't happen to everybody, but
Uh-huh.
it's a pretty common theme for a lot of women to just really, I just don't care what people think.
Yeah. It sounds like I used to, and I still do, teach a meditation that's called, it's called the effort meditation. I've modified it a little bit, but it's, you breathe in, F it or screw it is what I say now. And on the
Mhm.
exhale, it's let that, now I say crap, you could use another word there, but let
Yes.
that crap go. So screw
Yeah.
it, let that crap go. And it sounds a little bit like you get to sink into that a lot, or you have
Mm-hmm.
been in
Mm-hmm.
midlife.
I love that meditation.
Yeah, it's one of my favorites, and it
Mm.
sounds like there's an opportunity to embody some of the
Mm-hmm.
sensation of that, some of the relief. The,
Mm-hmm.
the point of that is
Yeah.
release, let it go. This
Yeah.
stuff is just stuff. I don't
Yeah.
have to hold it anymore.
And what I've learned about grief is that it's so necessary to feel the grief so that you can come to that letting go and acceptance that I
Um,
think naturally is part of grief, or
yeah.
part of aging. Is
Yeah.
that allowing yourself to move into the next chapter requires you to let go
Hmm.
of who you thought you were or what was important or having a
Hmm.
body that looked a certain way.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think there's a necessary letting go.
Right. And thinking about, I think we focus on the dropping, the letting go, but you're really saying, yeah, that has to happen, but your hands are free to pick up something else then. And
Yes.
so it's not, we focus a lot on the first thing, like, oh, I don't want to drop it. I want to hold on. I want to hold on. I want to hold on.
Hmm.
But the cost of that is all this stuff that's over here
Yeah, you can
that
get
I,
very stuck if you're holding on. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, that is so beautiful. Well, Deb, I want to thank you again so much for having this conversation. It was absolutely beautiful. And I hope that it is the first of many conversations like this
Yes.
that we have.
That would be delightful. Thank you so much for including me.